Oh, yes. So I have been enjoying this process that I've been hiding from. And and that is the process is getting on Facebook Live. First, letting everybody know an hour before, and Facebook lets you do that. There's a way to click, say you're going live, but it gives you options. And so then you just put a placeholder saying, I'm going to come in live. Then I come in live at 7 a.m. In 15 to 17 minutes. And I've been talking about the things that we've been talking about in this 1 hour, but just giving a little taster. And then coming in Zoom at 8 a.m. And I was doing this 12 years ago when I started business. Now I didn't have a coach then, and this was the issue that happened. This is what happens for everybody that gets out there and starts launching and thinking like everybody's watching you right away. If nobody's following you, then you think that you're doing something wrong because nobody's following you, because you see so and so doing something and they're getting massive movement. So 12 years ago, when I was starting this business, I was in that mindset. I didn't have a coach. I didn't have someone guiding me and telling me I was being very successful. Because what was happening, I was bringing people in to what I'm doing now. And I would get sometimes two people and sometimes around 30 people. And it was the process, of what I was doing. And I was never told that that was successful, because 12 years ago, the only people out on the internet were getting hundreds of people, because those are the people that were doing some strategies that they only showed the surface level of strategies. But if you invested with them, you really got the process to bring in more people. So I thought this organic way of what I was doing was not a success. So if you are running a business and nobody shows up for your Facebook Live, I'm going to say that's okay. What you feel in your passion and what you feel in your authentic space is the right thing to do. Your body knows it. And as soon as you are aware of what makes you happy, is how you show up, that actually is your marketing research, because you'll start bringing in clients onesie, twosie here and there. That's perfect. So that you get yourself comfortable. Then you get to react and be a coach and hear and see in reality around closed doors how people are feeling and the right words to use. And then evolution starts happening. Today, we're talking about the sabotages that we do to ourselves, that we think that we're being in this space of not doing a really good job. But there's a process to everything. And we're known to have 70,000 words that we speak to within our body, within our mind. If our mind is thinking it, then our body feels it. Oh, okay. I have a doggy that I thought I took care of him. He needs to go outside. I'll be right back. He may need some water. He may need to go potty. I'll be right back. This discussion that we're going to have today is really about us getting to know ourselves. The more that we get to know ourselves, the more that we can decide how our day flows, so that it's not a task list and you get that done and you go check off, check off, check off, and your ego goes, perfect. I got all this stuff done. There's something in your body, though, that we're talking about vitality. We're talking about that this is a jump start. If you look at a task list, it's like I'm the what Dawn and I talk about. I got to do my task list today. And then when you get through your task list, it gets better and better because you got stuff done. But if you were able to get to know yourself more, get to know what you want to get done so that you get stuff done. There's another layer, though, that affects your vitality, the component that you're missing. And there may be a couple. One of them that I really see right now is when your task list is in front of you, you never connect it with the excitement of why you got to, not have to, or that I have to do this, or I can't do this over here because my task list. See how the words are coming together, words and phrases that we say? I get to, oh my gosh, I get to do these things because my house is going to look beautiful. Because it'll give me time to go spend time with Jacob and Kirsten. Because this becomes very big and fluffy. So now it's not your task list. Now it's called something else, whatever you want to name it. Now I get to, and you're swimming in the water and there's a flow, and I get to, and I get to, and I get to, and feel the flow like we did yesterday. We're doing the body movement. Even if your body's not moving, think about something positive for a moment. Or it's an emotion. How does your body feel? Are you starting to feel it open? You're starting to feel something good. It's all about vitality. So what we are talking about here is maybe it's not right here and now exactly what you're doing, because right now everything feels pretty positive, but it's what's going to affect you at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, that afternoon slump that really stops you from being able to have a powerful day. Because think about this. When you start your morning, it starts off slow because you're bringing in the flow of how your day is going. And now it starts happening. And now you're going through your day. And as you're going through your day, it builds. Around 11 o'clock, you're dialed in. And you're boom, 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 boom. And you're moving. 12 o'clock lunch. Tomorrow we'll talk about food because that's important. And you're moving. And you keep going. And you got your water. I got my hot water. And you're moving. 1 o'clock happens. Start slowing down a bit. Lost that momentum. 2 o'clock happens. Oh gosh, got to go take a nap. Now, as an energy revitalizer, at the beginning, I would say, go do an adrenal reset. Go do these couple of strategies. The other pillar there, though, is the second pillar we're talking about, which is the mindset. Somewhere along the way, from morning feeling good, that you slowed yourself down with the things, I can't. You're not worth that. Oh my gosh, you don't deserve that money. Don't be asking people for that money. Your business is really not worth that. You really don't know what you're doing. And the fraud sense comes in. And even though you have your muster and your momentum going, with the breaks happening, as you're trying to build and create and you think you're doing an awesome job, yeah, you are, by the way, how you're showing up today is divine, and where you are, so you get to learn lessons along the way. So let's figure out what that is for you today. That's why the 2 and 3 o'clock affect you, because you want to play with those 3 energy revitalize pillars. Yesterday we talked about movement. Today we're talking about mindset. and then we have the food. So you have good alignment. Let's focus right now on moving forward on the mindset. You start your day, gratitude, all that. Okay, you do your stuff, you feel good. Okay, so that's good. The further you get away from your morning, you're still feeling good. It doesn't feel like this weird gap that I did that in the morning. Why don't I feel good in the afternoon? Well, flip it and say, oh my goodness, I'm feeling good in the afternoon. This is how it happens. You do all your morning stuff, your morning scrub, I call it. And I even think of like a white feather or scrub, and you're scrubbing your mind and you go, oh my gosh, feeling so good. Morning routine. A lot of you out there are already doing that, I bet. And if not, that's something to learn also. As you go through your day, you hear yourself say, I can't. You can take a step back and go, why is that showing up? As you practice that I can't is right there in your face. Before it was just like, I can't. You're still pushing because you think you're hearing everything as you're going along, but the words and phrases is what helps us understand where we're getting stopped. I can. Oh, this is awesome. Oh my gosh, I got a new person to spend some time with and help them on their journey. No way, no fraud in our mind. Can we do this? Why'd they say yes to us? Oh my gosh, they're going to give us money. Can I do this? Or you're working with a client and you feel you're just not worthy. Flip it. I can. Oh my gosh, then your momentum's going. Now you're powerhouse. 2:00. You've been going since the morning, but you've taken your breaks and you are dialed in. It feels so good. Now you're in your fat burning stage. If you were working out in the 70s and the 80s, and we'd take that heart rate constantly. Now we have devices. We go, are you in your fat burning stage? Oh, yes, I can go up miles and miles on bike, or I can do aerobics, and I will be forever going some of the fat burning stage. That's what your 2:00, 3:00 potential is. So that's what we're talking about. It may feel normal to have that 2, 3:00 slump, because I bet everybody around you is dealing with that. Now, if you've been doing these strategies, then they're going to be the one-offs. So the goal of the 7-day jumpstart is to acknowledge that what we see every day is really not normal for the flow of the body. It's normal because we're learning. We're learning what works for us without shame, without judgment, but wow, enlightenment. So anytime you get yourself in a space, I want you to know what these top 10 saboteur list is. It's labeled something different because I created it about 10 years ago, and I was really focused in another part of the health industry. But it's the top 10 sabotage list. So let me share this with you. Sabina and Donna, anything I've said that you want to add in? Anything you're feeling?
I'll go first.
Okay.
I think this is very important. Thinking about that, especially about the mindset. I know for myself that I've been working through way back when I did do the 2-3 o'clock slumps, and I figured out some of the ways how to work with that. And for me, that was a lot to do with sleep and with how I eat in that combination. But the mindset part is really, I think, the key piece there. And the more we can do shifting off our thoughts, the better off we are. It was really funny when you went, for me, when you went through that little exercise, how can you do it? And I just looked at my task list for the day and looked at the first thing, and I just did that little flip thing. And my first thing was, I need to go to the bank to get cash out so I can put it in a Christmas letter to my goddaughter in Germany. And instead of, oh my God, I have to go and stand in line at the bank, I thought, but I get to put the money in there, and then she can buy something really beautiful for her little 1-year-old, and aren't they going to be happy? And that made me feel happy. So it was just that little twister to say, oh, this is actually a fun exercise because the outcome is something I want. So that was helpful, just to remind myself to shift, not twist, twist is not a good word, to shift into that. What is the positive outcome? How do I want to feel when I do that? I love that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I feel the same way. That the mindset part is for me, is the motivator, because if I'm feeling down and I'm not doing what, and I'm going like, oh, I got to do this and oh, I got to do that, then everything, just my energy goes away, and then I just want to go lay on the couch. Where if I'm thinking differently and going like, okay, here's an opportunity. This is exciting to do. Okay, this is a challenge, but this is something new I get to learn, or this is something I get to do for somebody that I otherwise wouldn't get to. It changes the whole thought process, and it changes your energy. It's kind of strange, but I mean, if you really think about it, but it really does change your energy. And where before you'd be going, okay, but if you're thinking the other way, then it's like, okay, let's go, let's do this.
Yeah. I feel that at times when I go into community, like somebody's bringing a community together, this is how I run business. I don't know how else to do something where people get excited to hang out with you. I first want to hang out with myself. So if I go in and I'm like hard nosed and I just fire hose somebody and say, "La, la, 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 la," then it sometimes that happens because Donna and Sabine, I mean, we know sometimes when you're in a coaching session, it's like, okay, I need to get somebody focused. Let's do blah, blah, blah. But for the most part, that's just to get the energy and the focus and the redirect. And that's what the saboteur list does. But it's about, let's go play. Let's open things up. Let's not feel judgment. So when I go into restaurants or I go in and there's a virtual event, the first thing somebody will say after is, "Hey, what do you want to learn from here?" and all this kind of stuff. My being the way that I am is like my words really are my emotions now. So like when you start really feeling that alignment, like, yeah, I already know what to do because I've been doing this for 12 years. I've been in the industry for 20 years. So I know how to do it, but I want to get tips still. That's why I have a coach. But the main part that I go in and I play around is that's how businesses ran. So if I'm dancing, if I'm smiling and I'm playing, then I get to hold space. I get to ground myself. But that energy is your vitality. And you'll find what your natural rhythm is and how you show up. But at the beginning, did you see how I was playing? Because I was so excited and authentic. But as we start going, the energy gets grounded, but you can still feel that movement forward because now the energy is not, yes, we're starting. Now it's like, okay, now I'm still using that same energy, but I'm going in deeper. So it's almost like the fat burning stage, like the mental. Like now we're woo, and now we're going together. And you're hearing because there's energy in there. You can slow talk. and you can fast talk. You can slow to emphasize things, and you can do that in conversation too. Say you have somebody in your life, because relationships are one of the number one things when it comes to everything you could think of, business, life. So when I'm having a conversation, I know to slow down sometimes and just look at somebody and make sure. You know, I have a hubby that I've been with for 22 years. So I need to make sure that he's been listening to me. What I'm finding is that he looks like he's listening to me. An hour later, he'll say exactly what I did, but he says, we should do that. And so it's good because when you really get to ground your thoughts, then you can really be in present. Because the saboteur words that give us muck, and we can combat with our loved ones or combat in our business. Let's start clearing that today so that it makes sense for you and how you truly want to show up. Let me share this with you. Thank you for sharing, ladies. Thank you. Okay, so do you often use the phrase I can't? This is number one. I can't shows up in so many ways. Somebody asks you to go do something, but it really deep inside you want to go do something else. Like, this is really important for me to go and wash my hair. Yeah, that old one. I remember watching Laverne and Shirley. Like a guy would ask them out, but they didn't really like them. They go, oh, I gotta wash my hair tonight. But sometimes that is important because maybe it's been a few days since you haven't washed your hair and you don't have time to get ready and do the thing that your friend wants to do. So you go, I really truly have to wash my hair, and it's the truth. So you can't put I can't in the way. It allows you to be more open, and that's going to be part of your vitality also, because sometimes we feel like we are not being authentic and in truth. So if you keep speaking your heart, then you get to keep opening up your thyroid, which we really do want that thyroid to flow. So when we're doing the body movement class, I consistently pull the thyroid so the thyroid gets to float and be with us. Because we all have some things that we usually want to work on if we're speaking a lot and we're not slowing down to make those words mean something. And sometimes we're not speaking, and so we can be hyperthyroid or hypo. We may not be diagnosed with a thyroid thing, but if this right here takes care of every aspect in your body, from your hair, your nails, your feet, your circulation, your heart, all that, then it's going to be affected somehow if you're stuck in this sabotage list or human. So it's not always going to be perfect, but it's divine when you get to play with this and you get to heal more and more of those wounds that brought us into believing that we can't do things. So I can't is incredible because sometimes you truly are saying, I can't. And it could be because you're looking at your bank account and you're saying, I can't invest in that. And it's like, wait, your bank account is saying this, but if you said, I can, energetically, where's that going to take you? Where's it going to take your vitality? What's the money left on the table because you're saying, I can't? So you're not elsewhere making that flow of income where the bank is going to increase and your brain is going to get used to seeing more money there. So the I can't becomes a wonderful phrasing to play with. So that's one of the phrases that'd be really fun for you to play with for the 24 hours, because we have another wonderful class tomorrow and we can revisit that at the beginning if anything comes up. We have a couple more days together on this. So the I can't is strong. So you see how it can be used as a tool. You're not authentically stepping forward and saying, this really isn't for me. Or we're saying, I can't, because we feel limited in our space. Now, this list is interesting. The next one I find to be very, very big. So it doesn't exactly say here words and phrases, but it's actions, because I believe there's emotions that stop us too, because we're not really saying anything to ourselves, maybe, but it may be that it's a routine that we're doing and we are just in this flow that's not working because we're only giving ourselves so much time. So the second one is, are you repeatedly running late because you don't allow enough time for yourself, like starting your day with a stretch because you don't have time? That's a good example of when you're starting a program or you're ready to really launch it bigger. And that the program could be you, like you're increasing your vitality and you're saying, I don't have time for that in the day. And when you start looking at it, I'm thinking about this, Sabina, because we were talking about this the other day in, oh, adding one more thing. We were just discussing a flow, adding one more thing, like where does that go? And the discussion started happening where it's like, yeah, but I bet if we start reviewing like how the day flows and what's going on, then we can see if we add this new thing, maybe there's something that we can let go or that we should have let go already, just because it's not really serving the space that it could be. Because now we've already utilized that for a while. Now it's time to go to this new thing. Now let's drop off this or a few things. Now let's open up space. So that connection is really important. So now let's say it takes a half an hour for you to get ready. You give yourself 20 minutes, and this is where the words come in like, I'm not worthy. I really don't need to look, this divine and beautiful because it's just me. It's just another day. I don't need to do that. Maybe though, if you gave yourself that extra 10 minutes, something about taking care of yourself, you'd feel beautiful. And inside, you'd feel more relaxed. Then you're showing up physically the way that you want to. And you don't feel in a flurry. You get to the computer, or you get to go in the car and drive where you're going to drive, and you feel relaxed and you feel in a line. And see where that takes you, because again, vitality will slow down if you start your day like this in a muster. So that is the feeling and the vibe that this list has for you, because there's deeper things. We could go in and we could have a whole 4 hours just in that number 2 of running late, because there's so many things that come off that, and where mindset is in more personal spaces, and you're in your stories. So it can be really strong process. So this can be really deep. Now, when you go through this, I want to remind you to keep taking breaths in and remind yourself if you feel any shame, because this is where it's confrontational. Or if you want to play, then this gets exciting, because what you're going to find is where you are now, where you want to get to is right over here. And it may mean that you have a pretty thick wall to get through, because this saboteur list over here, you want to keep watching that so that the door opens instead of hitting your head against the wall. Right, Donna? I've been saying that for years, hitting your head against the wall. And you may not realize you're doing it, but when I was studying for the CPA exam, I kept telling myself, you're not smart. Your mom didn't graduate from high school. Your brother didn't graduate from high school. You're not worthy or smart, because, and there's some things that happened to me when I was going to school and actually being abused because I was asking questions and I didn't understand something, and something happened. I had to make friends with that because that incident carried with me along the way that I wasn't very smart. So these things and these stories become our day to day of what we believe is like just here and now. We don't hear those kid stories. So whatever's stopping you to get to where you want to get to, take a breathe in and look at that for a moment. Where you want to go. Where do you want to go in life? Where do you want to take your business? What do you want to have done today that's going to help you move forward so that you get to the spirits of people that need you? So let's go into the third one. Aging. Do you believe that fatigue, joint pain, facial aging is part of the aging process? And you say that food and rest will not help you. It's gonna be the last one we talk about, but I can send this to you if you'd love it. It's a gift you can take with you today. The reason why I bring this up again, this is kind of an interesting, it's a thing is because what will happen is two things. One is that when we don't have our mind all together and we've been living this life where we're not present, as we age, we'll say, do you see my gray hair? You know that I'm not going to remember those things because you see I'm getting older. And then all of a sudden you start using that aging factor. But in your mind, you're thinking, oh my gosh, am I losing my brain? I can't remember all this stuff. And then there's the scared factor. But you never got an opportunity to step in. What does it feel like if I live in present space so that I can be aware of what my brain is thinking and the events that are happening, and I don't blame it on aging? Because natural aging, our organs, our body's been around for a while. So heck yeah, there's going to be some things, but fear, we're going to put fear in our body if we keep talking like that. And the fear is around health. So, I'm talking about food, I'm talking about rest. And then all of a sudden, those limiting words come into our space. And then there's fear that we can't touch and, play with. It just feels really bad in our body. And the scared factor can happen around aging. How about if you could think about the goals that you want to get to and you are aging, but you're doing it in a slower process because it's not accelerating, that you're aging naturally. You get to look at yourself and go, wow, I love the woman that I look like. I don't expect myself to look younger than a decade ago. Man, I'm enjoying this journey because you get to allow yourself to be present and enjoy all the wonderful nuggets, brain, that you're feeling and also your spirit. But physically, your body gets to express all the beautiful stuff you've learned. And then all the wrinkles and the beautiful stuff that you have becomes a more of a statement, because every time you speak, it becomes a statement. So that could be another thing that's in the way of the goal that you're trying to get to. So you see where this play is with all this? Like, this is just incredible. Again, we could have 4 hours on that, because wouldn't it be fun just to play with that about the aging and then bring in some aging, beautiful, fun stuff? These are all workshops just within one. It's incredible what you can do. And even Facebook Lives, even, having conversation with a girlfriend. Why talk about the crud that brings us into the rabbit hole when we're talking with our girlfriends, and maybe not talking about real positive stuff about, life and this and that, but really using some of these subjects and kind of playing with it and laughing and being silly about, how you want to change things. So this can be very playful. So I would enjoy bringing Donna with us, and I will introduce you, my friend. These words and phrases is such a wonderful tool when you learn how to use it and you start thinking about not just the explicit words that are there, but breathe it in. So when I met Donna 5 years ago, if you were here yesterday, you know that it was around the situation of Donna only having so much energy for the day. Right away, at that time, I wanted to go into some food strategies for Donna. So, first, just to feel safe, I didn't want to go into the mindset strategies. Donna was getting to know me. And at this point, we were in discovery together. So, I needed to first make it safe, make sure that she knows that she's not being judged, create a plan that can connect her with the results that she wanted. So, I was still working mindset. But this top 10 saboteur list, I didn't show her for a long time. We didn't talk about movement. That pillar had to be off to the side. It was slightly in there, and the movement was more about the breathing part, because that is body movement where you're talking about your flow. So you're going to find movement to be an interest, like what my definition of what movement is. So you're learning that more and more. Donna and I went through this food strategy. As time went on, it was time to start talking about some things that Donna was going through. So we started in this realm of words and phrases that were showing up. And it wasn't that I put this list up in front of her and said, Donna, you're saying this stuff, because it was tricky. It wasn't that maybe Donna was saying those specific words, but it was showing up somehow. So anytime that we got in a space and we were holding it, I'd say, Donna, can we hold that right here? Okay. And at first, like when you're being, mentored, it's like, oh, okay. And I said, can we hold that space? And so can we look at that different angles? What you're going to learn from Donna is that this process and getting into the mindset strategies is what was one of the main clogs that she was having. And I want Donna to share with you more about that, where that's shown up in any story or how you want to share it, Donna, because I know your divine space is how you want to explain it now. Since it's been some years. So let's see what you come up with. Because at the beginning, we had one story, but who knows what you're going to show up with today, huh? So welcome in, Donna. I would love to open up the space and allow you to share about your mind process over through these 5 years. And you can go and tap in as far as you want or whatever, and I'll guide you, my friend, too.
Thank you. Well, early on when we were working together and you would say, okay, let's breathe that in and that. But there was things I remember a few times where you stopped the coaching session because I was up against a wall and my thought process was up against a wall. And I felt at that point when I felt resistance and I could feel that little girl in me just kind of stomping her feet and pouting and going like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. And there's still times that happens to me where it's like, I don't want to do that. And for me, even now, there's still times when, as I call it, I have to go in the back door and I have to kind of sneak up to that resistance and kind of slip by the resistance, and then I can do it. But there's times when that resistance is very thick. And so that's one of my challenges with mindset is getting past that resistance. And
Donna, when did you become more aware? Okay, first that you were going to the doctor and your body was working, which is good. Excellent. So you didn't have a diagnosis. It means that you weren't like sick, which was perfect way to come in. But you wanted a diagnosis. How did it feel, or when did it come in that you started feeling an unclog and some more energy, and we were acknowledging, or you were acknowledging, oh, my mind has been putting me in a space. I actually don't know the answer to that because I can't remember, but for your field today, what do you think that when you finally got that awareness about mindset and your energy?
If you were to ask me exactly
Not
a general
exactly.
time, a general time, I don't know, but it just all of a sudden it just flowed to where I went, okay, well, I'm able to get up. I'm not just running on 5 minutes of energy a day or 10 minutes of energy a day. I'm going, I'm doing things. And at one point I thought, okay, the diagnosis is not, because at this point, it's not going to come. And as long as I'm doing well, then I just keep on going. And yes, there are times when my body kind of goes, hey, wait a minute, you're kind of falling off the off the hill here. But I know in general that my body's okay because I've had myriad of tests and they go,
Yeah,
we don't see a problem. We don't see a problem.
yeah.
And it's just getting to a point where you just say, okay, well then there isn't a problem, and I'm going to just keep going and doing the things that I look forward to doing.
You think about this in the wellness space, that's kind of your diagnosis, because I look at skin and tongue and, and word flows and things like that. But holistically, we got to have a diagnosis. It's like, oh, okay, so if I use, or Rhonda, you made me feel good, like you unclogged this space because you're the one that's actually helping me flow, because I'm listening and hearing, and I can feel the energy, and I can feel there's something there, and then you get to step into it, and you're doing the work. I'm just here witnessing. So can you please share your year in, you and John, because I think that's so important, my friend. I know it's going to be important for you to share too, but there's some unclogs recently that you've had by your leveling up and one of the deepest stresses you've had this year.
Well, I've learned so many things, and I have more gratitude than ever before. And I had gratitude before, but my husband, he was sick late last year, and he went through tests and things like that. And at the end of May of this year, he went into the hospital. We almost lost him then. He had a really bad infection. And so he was in the hospital, and then he had to go to a nursing facility to finish off all the antibiotics that he had to take. And at that point, someplace between the hospital and the nursing facility, he caught COVID. And he valiantly tried to fight it, but he was already very sick. And that's the one thing the doctor said, he's a very sick man. And so he lasted just under a month, and then he passed away. And after he passed away, besides just all of the regular business issues that one has to deal with when somebody passes away, but I had to go through a lot of, not just the grief, but there was guilt because I never got to see him in person again. I saw him on a web cam thing twice just before he passed. And so, but I never got to hold him. I never got to say, I love you, or give him a hug. those things are the challenging things. But, I have a lot of gratitude. All the things that my husband did for me, that I still get those blessings for now. And, um, and I appreciate people so much more now. And not only just the people themselves, but all the connections that I have because of all the stuff that I've gone through.
Mm.
And people like you, Rhonda, Sabina, and the many more that are in this community. So, it's still a learning for me and my son, but we appreciate each other even more going through this, and on top of it, it being, all the time that we've had to spend at home,
Mhm.
and that this year. So, any other time I would have just gone and visited other people
Yeah.
and spent time with people and been able to hug people. Boy, that's what I'm looking forward to the most, is to be able to hug all my family and friends and that.
Yeah.
Because I think my son's getting tired of me hugging him all the time.
Through this journey, it has been fabulous still being your coach. We're going on 5 years, my friend. The thing that we get to do in the mentor space is create the most positive way of how you're growing. So we've spent 5 years on a list like this and helping you make amends and love on people more or love on yourself more, however everything was showing up. Now this journey is being created in a way of you growing in your spiritual space and being able to play with that and acknowledge it and being able to be held in space so you can feel what is positive when there's so much of intensity of all the I have tos and learning what that have to can be in, oh, I get to. And I hear John speaking to me. I understand I'm not fully alone, but I don't get to hug him because hugs are beautiful. And how to keep saying I can so the energy keeps there so you don't fall to the ground and say, okay, I tap out. So I really, truly appreciate the connection that you've kept with me through your most challenging time in your life. Showing up, making adjustments based on what works for you. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. The story that you shared is going to help so many people. So many people have lost people with coronavirus, with cancer, with diabetes, with everything we can think of, because all that was out there, now it's even worse with all the stress. So I really appreciate, and I know this is what you know is one of your spaces in life is to share your story and be able to get out there that these things are really important. So I do appreciate you being here this morning.
Thank you. Thank you, Rhonda. I appreciate you too.
Thank you, my friend. Let's open this up to finish this flow up. Donna, you may have some awarenesses of some of the things. We only went 1, 2, 3 in the saboteur list. Some things may have opened for you. Sabina, what do you think? This is the first time that you've seen this saboteur list, but as we're spending time exiting out in our threshold here of togetherness, I want to give you some space for vocals around this.
Well, first off, thank you, Donna, for sharing that story. It just really opens up my heart to just help other people walk through challenges like that. And on the list. I was going through that, and I love the moments where I'm going, oh shoot, that's exactly me. So no matter how much we work on ourselves, and it doesn't, we're all doing that, and it's a long journey, but you always find when somebody else holds a mirror up to you, that's the
This is
go,
wonderful.
oh look, there I am.
We get to learn from each other. It's just another
I am, and this, yeah, so I kept, you may have noticed I was scribbling because I was taking those points and going, okay, you better start working on those points, because it is
good.
so important to get the resistance. I loved Donna's image of the little girl resistance, because I used that, a similar one. My little girl too is very opinionated occasionally. We have to have discussions on that. So, and it's constant work. It's constant monitoring what you do and how you feel, because when you get to know how you feel in flow, then you know when you hit the resistance, when you know when something negative comes up and go, okay, why am I doing this? What's actually going on here? Level 1, level 2, level 3. Let's really dig down why.
Oh yeah, those are all different levels, and
And
that's the time we
it's
level up.
fascinating work, because things come up that you just go, what? Sometimes, old stories that we tell come up, and they can go back to our child, and you go, oh, that's why I'm doing this. This is why I'm thinking this. And it's just so gratifying when you can unravel those knots of resistance. So this is a fabulous list, and yes, I'm good. I will take a couple of them and really go, okay, let's tackle this.
Nice, Savina. I know it's like when we are in community of other seekers, we're already using our strategies, but that's why we want to say yes to, when it feels right to be hanging out with certain people, because it just feels right. And that yes is so important, because whatever they're doing is their authentic self, because you feel safe with them. And they're going to give you another angle. And it's like, oh my gosh, those yeses and hearing this stuff at a different angle opens up, especially when you're leveling up, because all these are going to show up at some point again if it's been a story, but you're going to relieve a layer of it and you're going to accelerate. And then when you get, like you're moving to that next space, you can feel it, but there's this vibration of resistance, like, I can feel it.
Exactly.
Want to revisit. You're like, oh yeah, I've been doing my work every day. Why is this showing up? Well, because we're at a new layer. Or they're like I talk about the new seasons. Like, okay, we're in the fall. Some new aches and pains are going to show up. But let's talk about how your week is going to go. So then the flow will open up. You'll be able to acknowledge that it's not going to stay there with you, that certain things are happening, because each change, different things show up.
Exactly. Right. And you need somebody else. You cannot see your own blind spots.
Yeah. You can do your work. You can be your best VIP client, but you're not going to, you can't always put a mirror there, because you only know your own stories and somebody's going to catch it.
Exactly.
And I always have two coaches at least, because I think that everybody has their own zest and it becomes at least one. I do. And, but like I've had two for a few years now, and it helps because everybody has their own special, approach and things. So it's great.
Yeah. And I agree with you. The longer I am on the journey, and I think that is true for everybody, the more I realize I need that outside perspective. I need a coach to show me how I can grow and level up again, because again, I can't see my own blind spots.
Yeah, and I want to move fast, because fast is fun, because then you get to meet a lot of new people and you get
And like any coach, I can only help people to a certain level. So if I get through my blind spots, if I can grow, then I can lift the next person and the next person. And that's really why we're all in it. We have that passion to help.
I know, and Sabina, sometimes it's client retention. Because if you are growing and you're moving, then that client feels safe. They feel like they're being seen and heard. And if you just keep getting out of your way, however the tool you're using, then people say, I mean, I've had people with me for 10 years, and that's a certain thing that they've been wanting. And sometimes it expands more and more in different services. Sometimes it stays the same because that area is what keeps helping them grow. And it helps them get out of their stagnation because they want to move forward. It's so much fun. It ebbs and flows.
Yes.
Donna, did you want to say something as we're exiting out? You are doing fabulous today, my friend.
Well, I just want to say that this has been wonderful and I've enjoyed it. And I agree with Sabina about all what's, just not being able to see your own blind spots. And I never could figure out having a coach, but I totally get it now because I've learned so much and I wouldn't have learned all the things that I have without a coach. Thank you, Rhonda.
Yeah, thank you. All right. So another day of something that's really serving space are the 7-day jumpstart. Oh my gosh, this is so much fun. I decided I'm going to do this monthly because there's so many layers and so many years of doing this. It shows up. You bring up this list, it shows up new stories. This is great. So thank you, and in recording, thank you. I appreciate the energy and the flow that's with our spirits coming together and enjoying community. Community and relationships are my number one this year. And it's taught me how to show up the way that is deeper, stay in my heart sense so that I can feel nurtured myself. And that's one of my growing sides. So us being together and being able to talk, it's so divine. I love it. Thank you, Sabina, for being here. Donna, tomorrow we're going to be speaking about food, and food is fun. We're going to play with that. And if you were here on Friday, you saw how I created a plate that felt like you were eating, but you really weren't, but you were. So we're going to talk more about that, but I'm going to bring some food and how food strategies heal certain parts of your body. So you'll want to get a pen and paper, your journal, because it's going to really serve you in learning stuff that I've been doing for years on how to really take care of the liver. Boy, how come I'm feeling weepy these days? We're going to talk about kidneys. We're going to talk about the heart. We're going to talk about specifics so that you can start getting connected. Have your master grocery list that you can pull out by whatever we can get to tomorrow. And Donna and we'll be speaking about food because that definitely is an important journey, also component of the 3 Energy Revitalize Pillars. Thank you. Have a great day.